Welcome everybody to Around the Association, the podcast. I'm your host Danny Thompson, checking in with you guys. And this is the Most Improved Player Award edition of the podcast, our season preview section. Check us out at AroundTheAssociation.com. Follow the show on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, and a multitude of other networks. Also follow me on Twitter at DANNY 3 Thompson on Twitter. And let's talk about the Most Improved Player Award. Award last season, I was won by Victor Oladipo. And sometimes the Most Improved Player is not really a guy whose stats completely go up, to extreme amounts. It's also opportunity and how things change. It used to be an award where, who had the best stats from one season to the next, wins the award. Now it's really more about how much a guy has evolved from one season to the next. And we saw Victor last year evolve from being a guy from Orlando where he still was trying to figure out his way around the league. He spent 1 year trying to be Russell Westbrook's, sidekick, and then he was traded 3 times in a year. He ended up in Indiana, and Oladipo was phenomenal last year. He led the Pacers to the playoffs last year. He was an all-star. He was in the dunk contest wearing a Black Panther outfit, a Black Panther mask. But it turned into Oladipo having his breakout season to the point where he is now, I think, 1 more year away, like the one he had last year, from putting himself in that conversation, being one of the best shooting guards in the entire league. We're talking literally a top 5 shooting guard if he has another season like this, because with consistency in the NBA, in my opinion, you have to show it more than 1 year. 1 year is great, but if you start showing it more consistent basis, then you can see yourself as being one of the guys on that tier level that you consider not just a star player, but even working your way up to that elite superstar level. So here are my list of guys that you want to look out for in 2018, guys who can have a breakout season, guys who I think who can improve themselves to get, I'm not saying Oladipo's level, but to make their careers even bigger than what it is. So let's look at my list for the most improved players around the league. I'll give you who I think is going to be the most improved player. So one guy that's going to become improved is because of opportunity is Mario Hezonja in New York. Hezonja had a really rough time in Orlando, and I've covered him for the last few years, and he just had flashes of being really good. He just didn't have the right coaching. I don't know what it was. It is something that didn't click here. Hezonja was a top 5 pick in Orlando. He was picked in the year Porzingis was drafted, and it just didn't work. He had flashes. He had moments. The shot that came with him didn't show up a lot of nights. He was playing out of position a lot of times, playing small ball for even as much as last season. When he had minutes, he got better over time, but it just wasn't to the level where Orlando wanted to invest in him long term, and I get it. So now sometimes in the NBA, guys need to change their pace and change the scenery, so why not go to the Big Apple? And the good thing is that he signed a 1-year deal in New York. Kristaps Porzingis is going to be out for an extended period of time. We don't know if Porzingis is either going to play this year or the Knicks are even going to attempt to play this kid at all, because he is the franchise player. He's the future of Knicks basketball. And really in a year where the Knicks aren't really going to be a playoff team this year, sorry Knicks fans, it's a chance to get guys the opportunity to become better. You're going to see a lot of Kevin Knox. Tim Hardaway Jr. should get plenty of chances to score. But I think Hezonja, if given the opportunity by David Fizdale, I think the kid has a work ethic. He really is a hard worker. He's just he's starting to learn how to adjust the NBA game. And yes, it's been a multitude of years, but give the kid an opportunity, Knicks fans. I think that he's going to be able to show a lot of improvement, especially with a coach like Fizdale, who's going to coach him up and he's going to work really hard with him to get him to be where he is, because Hezonja is betting on himself. He turned down a couple multi-year offers, potentially, after what I've heard around the league. He had a chance to get more than a 1-year deal, but he signed a 1-year deal in New York, betting on himself with free agency in 2019 being around the corner. I think Hezonja will increase his numbers. It's going to be those nights where he's going to have, he's going to have a bad shooting night, but I think there'll be a lot more better shooting nights and better all-around performances than you'll see the bad nights. What I do see from Hezonja this year, if he's given the opportunity and given the minutes, if he gets to that 30-minute mark, I can see Hezonja giving you about 14.5, 15 points a game, being about a 5-6 rebounding game guy, and also knocked out a couple threes a game. I think he's a guy, if you're looking at fantasy basketball purposes, I think he'll be a guy that you want to take in the late rounds, a flyer on him. I think Hezonja is really going to be good, especially, like I said, with Porzingis being out. They don't really have a true definition of a power forward up there. I know they got rid of Joakim Noah yesterday. They're still with Enes Kanter, who can't play heavy minutes because Enes Kanter still can't defend. You still have a couple of guys. Mitchell Robinson is going to get time, but Hezonja can stretch the floor. He can shoot the 3-point ball pretty well. And I think I said, given the opportunity, the Knicks aren't really trying to win. Showcase him. Given the opportunity, I think he has a real good opportunity to be something real special out there up in New York. Another guy on another coast who I think is going to have a really, really good year, is going to fly under the radar, and even has some kind of all-star potential, is Tobias Harris from the Los Angeles Clippers. Harris has been a guy that's been kind of in that same rut over the last few years, a guy who is really, really good, but he just hasn't turned that corner. He reminds you a lot of Oladipo, a guy who's been given different situations throughout his career and has not really taken it to that next level. He's been really good at the level he's at, but he just hasn't exceeded that level that you would want him to have for being a guy with so much talent. You know, Tobias has that ability again this year to hit the 20-point a game mark for the Clippers, because number one, we don't know about Danilo Gallinari's health, and Gallinari has had a future injury history where he just doesn't stay healthy. Tobias is going into a free agent year, which is also dangerous because guys who put up numbers in free agent years, we don't know if it's just because he's trying to get the check or if he's really involved. I think Tobias, to the point now where he's going to be trying to get himself that bigger payday come July 1, because a lot of teams have it. I think Harris gets that 20-point, finally that magical 20-point game mark that he's been getting close to over the years. I say he gets around 21 points a game this year. I think his game is so good because he can do inside, outside. He's a solid three-point shooter. He's not a guy that's going to be knocking down threes like Klay Thompson. He's not a terrible three-point shooter. He's just solid. Everything about Tobias Harris's game on the offensive game is just solid. He's not elite in anything, but he's not terrible. But he knows how to get to the basket. He knows how to score. He can score from all points of the floor. And really in an offense with Doc Rivers, with kids everywhere, and like I said, a good mix of veterans and young guys, with Avery Bradley going to be patrolling the wing offensively behind the three-point arc, trying to relive his Boston days where he was knocking down three-point shots on a consistent basis. I think Harris is going to do a lot of damage for that mid-range shot. I see Tobias finally getting that 20-point a game mark, right around 20 points, maybe 20.1, 20.2. I think around the 7.5 to 8 rebound a game mark, and I think he's going to become a better playmaker, right around 3.5, 4 assists a game. The numbers that we thought he was going to get, especially in Orlando, you look at the stop he had in Detroit, those are numbers we expected from Tobias in those places because he was given the opportunity. I think now that he's getting to that point where you have to elevate yourself, if you're going to hit that humongous payday, now is the time to do it. Other guys I see having improvement, you look at Willie Cauley-Stein in Sacramento, the same division. Willie Cauley-Stein's a guy that is also going into a contract year. He didn't want to be, I was reading about him earlier and reading stories about him and even learning from guys that cover the team, is that Willie just didn't want to be a guy that wanted to be a quote-unquote Tyson Chandler type of player. He wanted to show the fact that he could actually score offensively. And it kind of went away from what he was. He is a guy who could block shots, he could glass clean, he could rebound very well, very active, and could do a lot of things on the defensive side of the ball. He just worried so much about offense because he wanted to be more than what it was. It's kind of like Oladipo in some ways, because Oladipo was still learning how to be a scorer at the time in Orlando. They had him at point guard at the very beginning. As you can tell, a lot of this podcast, I'm going to be referring to guys to Oladipo because you can see progression in Victor's career. It doesn't happen overnight. It took Victor time. It took Victor 3 teams, but he's getting to that point. So I think guys in situations, especially at the crossroads of their careers like Cauley-Stein, you start seeing that improvement. Willie wants to get a paycheck. He wants that big money paycheck in July. So what is he going to do? He's going to stand out among King's big guys this year. He's going to start cleaning the glass better. I think Willie can get to that 8.5, 9 rebound game mark a game if he just really focus himself on rebounding and blocking shots. The offensive game will come. I think he'll become a 3.5, 4. I say about 2.5 to 3 offensive rebounding game guy, which will give him more opportunities to get easier baskets. With De'Aaron Fox at point guard, who's actually an underrated guy when it comes to court vision, I see a lot more alley-oop opportunities for Willie in the post. And if Bogdanovic and Buddy Hield can start stretching defenses out, and Justin Jackson can start knocking down three-pointers, it's going to make teams have to play the perimeter more, which lets, like I said, Willie have a lot more easier time. We use athleticism, get to the basket, and not to mention Marvin Bagley is also going to draw attention as well, too. So I see Willie Cauley-Stein actually getting I think he averaged double figures a game last year. I think I'm getting close to about a 13 to 14 point a game scoring average. I see him getting close to that 9.5 rebounds. And I think he gets that 2 blocks a game mark, and I think that shows improvement. That shows a much more improved guy, especially if he keeps his head engaged in what he's doing. If he's engaged, that means he's active, and when he's active, I think that the numbers will show, and Willie's going to show Kings fans, and especially guys around the league who's looking for another center, that he's going to be a nice little target come July 1. Other guys, when it comes, I see that level moving up. Let's switch coast. Let's go out to Brooklyn with Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert has been held in for the last couple of years trying to become completely healthy. Remember, he was drafted by the Nets, and he had a foot injury when he came out, so he's missed a lot of time. He's grown his game. Now, where does Karis LeVert stand? LeVert is at that point, that breaking point where he's actually going to start breaking through with minutes. I think he's going to start breaking through on the actual stat sheet. I think he's going to make even a bigger, more impact in Brooklyn. Karis LeVert has a lot of talent all across the board. He's a good defender. He's a good shooter. He's a good all-around type of guy. Kind of one of those guys, not to say like he's Rodney Hollis Jefferson or Allen Crabbe. I think it's a combination of both. He's going to be a nice little guy. I'm not saying he's an elite two-way player. He's going to be able to score the basketball. He's going to be effective on other ways. I think he's a much better upgrade than Allen Crabbe, a much better version of Allen Crabbe as well, too. So what does that mean in transition to 2018, 2019? With one more year of the Brooklyn Nets being in transition, trying to get from, to that next level. So when you're looking at free agents, looking at Brooklyn going into the summer, this is a nice place to go. He's a very, very good piece for a team that's building something special. When I say something special, it is to the point where you're going to be able to attract a major free agent in July. I think the Nets will get one, maybe even two this summer. And I'll go into it another day for another day. But as far as Karis LeVert's production on the floor, don't be surprised if Karis LeVert hits close to 40% of his three-pointers, and don't be surprised if Karis LeVert gets to be over 16 points a game. He could challenge D'Angelo Russell for leading scorer in Brooklyn because Russell is another guy I think has to take that leap because his contract is due. But I think because of the hard work of Karis LeVert, I think he's going to become maybe a 15, 16-point-a-game scorer this year in Brooklyn. I see a lot of that in him. Other guys who could be, you want to keep an eye on and most improved this year, look at Stanley Johnson in Detroit. It has to click sooner or later. Stanley Johnson has to click sooner or later. It's just, there's too much talent there, and Dwayne Casey might do something that Stan Van Gundy couldn't do, is get this kid, the best out of this kid. If anybody knows how to treat, and get guys who are very, very good wing defenders and make them actually worth something, it's Dwayne Casey. Look at what he did with Norman Powell. Look what he did with Terrence Ross. Look what he did with guys with actual talent on the wing. He actually made them solid players. Stanley Johnson has the ability to defend, and he has a super athletic build and can get to the rim with his athleticism. I think Dwayne Casey can turn him into a Norman Powell type of player. And remember, Norman Powell got a humongous extension because Norman Powell that year that he came and burst on the scene was averaging over 10 points a game, was averaging being a starter, playing very good defense. I'm not saying Stanley Johnson is going to become an elite Scottie Pippen player tomorrow, but hey, if you get Stanley Johnson to give you 10 points a game with really, really good defense, with a team that has Blake Griffin, a team that has Andre Drummond, and you got to think Reggie Jackson, when he's healthy, can play the pick and roll because Reggie's also a very good scorer off the pick and roll. There's going to be opportunities where Johnson can can score baskets. If he just finds a way to hit a shot consistently and just really plays with himself, Dwayne Casey will bring everything else out of him. He can defend, so he already has half the game down. That's one reason why I see he can be very improved. Now, the guy who is going to be under the biggest microscope in Orlando is not Aaron Gordon. I think Gordon got the contract extension this summer. I think he's going to elevate the scoring. But I think the guy who's the best player in Orlando, the guy that people have to watch Orlando, Gordon's going to put the numbers up. I think Gordon could be a sleeper all-star candidate in the East, is Jonathan Isaac. Isaac is a guy that is different. And when I say different, he is a guy, if he can just stay healthy and his ankle can just stay together, Jonathan Isaac makes more of an impact on this team than anybody. I mean, I've heard players in preseason say that this guy is the X factor. Steve Clifford has mentioned how important Jonathan is to the future of this franchise. Jonathan is 6'12". He doesn't want to consider himself 7 foot. He has an insanely long wingspan. The kid is already the best defender on the Magic already. And that was even shown last year. He blocks shots. He guards the perimeter. He's going to guard threes. He's going to allow Aaron to play more of the forward defensively. And Jonathan's still growing into his offensive game. But as you're growing in the offensive game, if you can already defend at a high level, the guy has a chance to be an all-NBA defender already right now. He has that much energy on the floor. He does that much defensively. And really, one of the few guys in the league that averaged over a steal and a block in the game and played limited minutes last year. He's that good. The only thing with Jonathan is the fact of, can his ankle stay healthy? He missed, 2/3 of the season last year due to injury, and he even got hurt in the first preseason game with the ankle. Same ankle, he went down again. If Jonathan can give you 70 games a year, this guy is on the potential literally to be an elite player, elite defender already. He has a chance to be a very good player, but be very elite defensively. There's a reason why Danny Ainge looked at this kid in the first round of the draft over Jason Tatum. There's a reason why that he worked him out. He's very superly impressive. The kid is very smart. He's very hardworking. I see if Jonathan's healthy, I see Jonathan getting around 11 points a game, around 8 rebounds. I see him getting close to 2 steals and almost 2 blocks a game. He's that good defensively. He is a bigger version of Sean Marion without the shot, because he's still growing the shot. But I think he's just that athletic enough to be a Sean Marion type player over 7 foot tall. He has that type of impact defensively. So, all these guys around the NBA, and there's still other guys I think who can break out this year. If Andrew Wiggins can somehow turn himself on defensively and have better shot selection, we all know the potential is there for Wiggins to be a star in Minnesota. Let's get this Jimmy Butler situation out the way first before we can consider Wiggins to be at that high level. Another guy I think who's going to have a breakout year could be Dennis Schroeder out in Oklahoma City. The numbers might not show it, but Schroeder's going to be much more in control because you're playing Russell Westbrook, i.e. Victor Oladipo. Other guys that can have a kind of a breakout season that you might want to consider looking at for 2019. I actually kind of like Elfrid Payton in New Orleans. Because you have Anthony Davis. He has never had a guy in his career on the talent level of Anthony Davis. Being around a guy like Drew Holiday is going to help. Remember, Holiday's an all-star. He's been an all-star. I think he has a chance to be an all-star this year. And you have him surrounding himself with Alvin Gentry, knows how to coach the game offensively, and you have the best big guy in the league. I think Elfrid Payton actually kind of might take a turn to become a better player. I love Taurean Prince in Atlanta. Came on strong at the end of the season. People are going to start realizing how good Taurean Prince really is. He's not one of those guys who's a good player on a bad team. He's a good player on anybody's good team. He's that good of a player. So, who is my choice for the most improved player in 2019? Well, you look at all the guys I spoke about this year, and I think really the one that makes the biggest leap this year, I want to say, is Tobias Harris of the Los Angeles Clippers. Tobias has every chance to be an all-star in a loaded West. I think that the Clippers can stay. I think he keeps the Clippers afloat all season until we can figure out what happens with guys like Gallinari. He puts the numbers up. I think I told you, when you hit the 20-point-a-game mark, you improve yourself completely. Tobias has been at that 17, 18-point-a-game mark for his whole career. I think he hits around 21, 22 points a game, around 8 rebounds. He puts the Clippers back on the map, and I think he puts himself in a very, very good position to catch a very, very big check in July. Tobias Harris is my choice for most improved player. Right behind him, I said Karis LeVert's going to be up there. Jonathan Isaac, even D'Angelo Russell, I really didn't go into great detail to. Mario Hezonja, those guys are going to be on the list. But I think Tobias Harris is my choice for most improved player for 2018-2019. So if you agree, let me know. Follow the podcast. Like I said, subscribe to it on Spreaker. That means you can find it. Also iTunes. Also at the same time Spotify. That between those three media outlets, there's like over 40 million people that have those. So we should have anybody listening. And guess what? It's free. You get the notification, especially turn the notification on, so every time a podcast is posted, you know exactly where to find it. Follow me on Twitter at Danny3 Thompson at Twitter. Also, Around the Association on Facebook. And also check out the website, aroundtheassociation.com. We have more podcasts. The daily podcast is coming every day. Mailbags, those things. So, for Around the Association podcast, this is Danny Thompson. I'll see you guys later. Peace.